Welcome to the Outlier Mindset Podcast, your guide for living a life by design. Here, we explore the journey of becoming an outlier, finding your purpose, mastering your mindset, optimizing your health, achieving financial freedom, and building a life centered around your passions. So tune in, transform, and thrive. Welcome to the Outlier Mindset. Let the journey begin. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Outlier Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Rodman Schley, and today we are thrilled to welcome to the show Steve Gamlin. Steve has transformed his adrenaline-filled experiences into a dynamic career in radio, stand-up comedy, writing, and speaking. As the creator of the Vision Board Mastery Learning Program, Steve's mission extends to helping individuals and teams visualize their goals and achieve greatness through actionable, science-backed methods. Steve, welcome to the show.
Hey there, Rodman. Thanks so much. Looking forward to our conversation.
Now, I'm really excited about what we're going to be talking about today because our listeners are really on this personal outlier journey where they're trying to figure out a lot of different things, trying to figure out, what their goals are, what their life looks like, what they want to be building in terms of building that life by design for themselves. And you are the vision board guy. What's up with that? Tell me a little bit about what does it mean exactly to be the vision board guy?
Well, about 22 years ago, I blew my life into a million pieces. If you're old enough to remember the old Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner cartoons, early 2000s, I pretty much rode my life right off a cliff wearing Acme rocket roller skates. Destroyed my radio career. My first marriage fell apart. I was tens of thousands of dollars in debt, just rudderless. And from the ashes of that, I started working with a life coach and had a couple of things happen in my life that were really out there. And he thought it was so funny when I was sharing the stories of those that he asked, have you ever thought of being a motivational speaker or a stand-up comedian? I think you'd be great at both. Those were two of my 4 goals when I was 11 years old. And he suggested this DVD that had just come out called The Secret. And it talked about the law of attraction. And I really liked and appreciated some of it, but some was a little too simplistic for me. But there was this guy named John Assaraf who talked for about a minute and a half about this thing called the vision board. And I was absolutely fascinated by that. So I didn't buy anybody else's program. I just started to apply what little knowledge he shared and try, fail, little success. And then I gradually started to put all the areas of my life back together using my vision boards. Now, I started off like a lot of people. It was all material things. And then I understood it's about 8 major areas to life. So we should be setting goals in each of them. And eventually one guy just saw me at a speaking event and he goes, wait a second, you're that vision board guy. And it just kind of stuck. So even on the back of my shirt now, the front says got vision, the back says the vision board guy, Steve Gamlin.
I love that. It's kind of like, vision is very important, by the way. And we do vision boards, my family does. And my wife kind of make fun because like when we started doing them, a lot of my vision board was jets and the nice cars and the nice watches. And her vision board was a flower garden or these simpler things that I was always going, hey, Gina, maybe you should think bigger. But she's always saying, you know what? Maybe you should quit taking all those items or those things, because life is about more than just the things, right? It's about the experiences and the joys and the life that you're building around you. So, we've had totally different vision boards. But that's okay too, because everybody's got different visions for their life.
Oh yeah, 100%. And what you described your early boards is what I call the vision board starter kit. The Lamborghini, the yacht, the mansion, the private jet, the helicopter, the big honking gold watch, and the bank vault full of gold bars. Some people reach out to me sometimes. They go, Steve, you're going to be so happy I made a vision board. I'm like, great, send me the picture. And then I just laugh and I go, okay, first off, there's nothing wrong with any of these things. It's a beautiful letter to Santa Claus if that's all you want, but there's nothing wrong with it. But I'll always lean in and ask and say, so where are you in this? Because to me, vision boards aren't just what you get, it's who you become along the way. And I love that Gina was talking about the experiences and relationships and all these other parts of life, because there are 8 that I work with: physical health, emotional well-being, closest relationships, core values that guide everything you do, your faith and spirituality, your connection with the world in a real way, your work and your money. Now, they're all operating 24/7, whether or not you're paying attention. So wouldn't it be a good idea to include those on your vision board? And you'll start to see that certain ones work really well with others. And when you start to paint that big picture, that's when some pretty amazing things start to happen.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I also believe, it's how I've evolved over that time too. Like you said, kind of the starter board back in the day. When I was younger, I always put profits over purpose. I always led with, the profitability or the money or how much can you make or how much can we get. But my life has changed to the point too. It's like, well, how can I give? Where do I want to give? What do I want my life to look like? What do I want to build around? Because I always feel like if you lead with purpose, the money's going to come. It's going to be natural because you're going to be putting into the world what is really resonating with you, what's important to you. And you'll always eat if you're leading with purpose.
And I love what you just said about giving and about being that version of yourself. I was on a podcast recently and I had all of my vision boards stacked up here on the desk here in the recording studio because I've got all the ones I've made since 2005, I believe is my first one. And I had a little phrase in a picture because it's not just pictures, it's words, hashtags, mantras, everything. And it said generous giving because I wanted to make giving a part of my speaking career. I started off giving 10% of every dollar I earned back to a nonprofit by coordinating with my speaking clients. So we gave together. And that little germ of an idea, that first little click, has now become my whole family wanted to get involved. So we created this thing called Beach Bum Philanthropy. That was our Acts of Kindness mission. And 3 years ago, it became an official 501c3 nonprofit from this little generous giving to getting more organized and serious about it. And then people were getting so excited. They go, Steve, we want to give you some money to give away. I said, well, we can't ask for donations because we weren't legally a registered nonprofit. So somebody said, we'll do the paperwork and we'll give you money. So my sister, who got the brains in the family, I get the cool job. She did all the paperwork. And we've been a nonprofit now for 3 years, all starting with this little tiny idea in a little corner of a vision board many, many years ago.
So what's the importance of a vision board? I mean, I know a lot of people have goals, they have ideas, but why bring it into life through a vision board?
To me, I'm a very visual person anyway, and a very fast-paced and creative person. And a big part of it for me is if you think of a GPS unit, whether it's maps on your phone or one of the old Garmin's that I still have, you know where you are now. And what you're doing is just setting a destination for where you want to go. And what version of you is going to arrive there. So you start to understand, here's where I am, here's where I want to be. And I think of it a lot also like an old wooden roller coaster. Not one of the jet-powered ones you see now, but one of the old ones. You start off at the parking lot level. Your goal is somewhere in the future at the top of that first hill. First thing you got to know is why you want that. Second is, what would that look like, feel like, sound like, smell like, taste like? Weave a story into all of your senses so they're all attached because that increases your connection to it. And then figure out the actions you need to take because just making a board, it's a start. You've got to take action every single day, intentionally, on purpose, with purpose, to get closer to that goal. And here's what happens is you become a better version of yourself. You build your confidence. You create momentum. You hardwire better habits in you when you're consistently moving toward that. And I believe having a visual of it is really going to help you to stay on track and focused. And whatever you were most excited and emotional about when you put it together is going to help to keep you going. And of course, always remembering your why. That's the gas in your tank that keeps pebbles from becoming Jersey barriers and keeps us from the wishy-washy goals.
Well, you talked too about the secret a little bit. And I know that that's a show or a documentary that a lot of people have seen. I've watched it, liked it, and they talk a lot about the universal energy, putting stuff into the universe and then letting things happen, right? But you can't just put together a vision board. You can't just put things out into the universe and just sit back and expect them to happen. What do people need to do? I mean, I'm going to get up. I love looking at the vision boards. I love seeing where I want to be going, but you can't just sit back on that either.
Right. I've got a meme I created a number of years ago when it's a skeleton sitting at a desk with its skull resting on its, hand bones. And it says, waiting for my vision board to work. And I used to share it with my clients when they would blow off a coaching call or they hadn't touched base or registered in the Facebook group in a while with a result. I say, look, you can't be that person sitting on your couch wishing to win the lottery if you're not going to get off your butt, go to 7-Eleven and buy a ticket. You can't wish for stuff without at least exchanging some form of energy and purpose to get there. And the best part about that is on your way to the 7-Eleven, you might run into a person who could change your life forever. we're out interacting with the world and plugging into our energy and being open and aware of opportunities. And some of my favorite wins over the past 22 years since I started doing this have been so far out of left field that there's no other way to explain it other than I get off my butt and I put myself in the right place with the right awareness, the right openness of mind and heart, and in my gut knew that I wanted to achieve something. And all of a sudden, these things show up. Now, in The Secret, one of the things that I didn't particularly appreciate about it, they had a genie in a magic lamp. And all that genie said over and over was, your wish is my command. That's part of it. But we've got to be out there, clicking up the first hill of that roller coaster, taking the steps, doing the work, making the connections, keeping our head on a swivel and being aware of the opportunities. Because some of my biggest successes, you could not, in a million years, Hollywood wouldn't even script how they happened. But they're still happening, and I'm still stacking up wins in my life. So I just keep taking my own courses over and over and over again.
Yeah, so don't ask the genie, be the genie. Create it, right? So I think that's great advice because, like you said, the people who are sitting back waiting for that vision board to activate or the universe to say, okay, Rodman, you asked for this, here it comes. That's only step one. I mean, doing the work and getting behind what you're doing is really the most important part. And then the universe will activate for you. But if you're sitting back just waiting for that universe to go, here you go, guys. You're going to be waiting. You're going to be that skeleton that you were talking about, waiting for things to happen, and they never will. So now let me ask you another question, Steve. So if you're step one, I'm sitting there, my community is about purpose, leading with purpose, figuring out what that purpose is. But I would feel like when you're doing that vision board, are you designing around purpose, or what are your first steps when you're really putting together an effective vision board with very effective goals?
What I start with is being very aware of where my life is in all 8 of those areas right now and taking a good, very honest, brutally frank look at it. And not to bash myself, but just to say, hey, this is where I'm starting right now. Things are not perfect right now. Here's where I am. And if you're a numerical person, on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you in each of these areas? If you're a more visual descriptive person like me, here's what's working right now, and here's what I wish to be better 1 year from now. I don't start with the 10, 20, 50-year goals like some of the other speakers do. I say, look, this person's struggling right now. Let's just work on 1 year. Where would you like your life to be in each of these categories 1 year from now? And don't just write number 10 across the board because that's a cop-out. If you're at a 3 right now, pick a 5 or a 6 or a 7. What would it take for your life to be there? Let's keep it, I'm not saying don't aim big, but let's keep it realistic for what you're willing to do the work for. What would be a good improvement for you in the course of 1 year? And then what would that look like, feel like, sound like, smell like, taste like? Start creating the stories around that, the experiences in advance. Jack Canfield calls it acting as if. So what would your day look like if you were living a life at that higher level a year from now, and then work backwards from there? That's the X on a treasure map. So if you're there, you must have taken this step. And if you're there, you must have taken this step and walk all the way back to where you are. Like our physical health. You want to be 25 pounds lighter? Okay. You're going to have to make some better food choices every day. You're going to have to educate yourself. You're going to have to find somebody who can give you the information. You're going to have to go for blood work and figure out where you're starting. Start exercising more, walking more, drinking more water, put down the bad stuff. Do what I call giving the McFinger to every fast food place you drive by. Just because it's easy doesn't mean you should eat it. And I think it's actually cheaper now to eat the healthy foods. I really do. I've seen the prices out there. So start to map out the steps you'll need to take to get from where you are to where you want to be. And it won't take long for you to start feeling momentum if you stay focused and on purpose with it and respect and honor yourself enough to do the work. Because it's up to you. You are the genie, and you hold the key to the universe actually speaking to you and through you. And whatever you choose to believe in for a higher power, get connected with that energy as well. And stay on a really good path and honor yourself enough. Give it a good year. You don't like it, go back to your old patterns. But I predict you will see some pretty amazing things happen, and you're going to love the improved version of yourself.
Well, in goal setting is so important too, because I feel like if I set a goal or if I write down a goal, it's amazing to me. Even if I've written it down, I've kind of forgotten about it. to see those things come into action, to see those come into fruition. Why? Because I put it in writing, or because I put it on a vision board. I think that's what activates a lot of action inside us, is just putting it down on paper.
Yeah. And the more specific we get, the better. I mean, look at resolutions. You know, resolutions are something. A lot of people say they're worthless and they're useless, and I used to be one of those people. But there's something, because they at least activate something within you. Take it a moment to put pen to paper, which I believe we should all do, versus just the digital stuff, because it actually uses our left and right halves of our brain when we handwrite or create something physical. We're putting an intention out there. Now, the thing with resolutions, people used to do them as very reactionary at the beginning of the year. Still hungover from New Year's Eve, they go, oh gosh, I want to be happier, I want to be healthier, and I want more money. It's something, but it's not really trackable. Because how do you quantify, am I happier than I was last year? I don't know. Well, what are the emotions I want to feel on a regular, everyday basis? What do I do to create those emotions? So the deeper you get into it, I need to laugh out loud every single day. So part of my day is devoted to that. And if I haven't laughed yet, I go to YouTube and find something that makes me laugh, or I call a friend, or share a meme with somebody. So when you get more specific, then at the end of the year, between Christmas and New Year's, when you're looking at the lamp in the living room and there's a folded piece of paper keeping it from rocking, and you unfold it and it's got a salsa stain in the pizza guy's number, and you go, oh no, these were my resolutions. Feel better, be happier, more money. I don't know. You know what I'll do? I'll change the date. I'll just write the new year on it.
Well, and that's why I think resolutions are great. They're great big picture items. But like for me, I do resolutions every year, but I break my goals down into quarterly, because for me, what I don't want to be doing is, if I miss a goal or if something didn't happen early on, I go, okay, well, there goes the year, right? But once you start to really break those down and go, okay, I'm going to check in with myself on a quarter. This is my quarterly goal. This is what I'm going to go after. And then if you don't hit, or if you don't whatever, you're not waiting until the end of the year to have a new set of resolutions or goals. It's like, okay, I got my next quarter. I'm going to hit it this quarter.
Yeah, something you just said in there, something that I include in all of my vision boards, are tracking systems for continuity, for momentum, to be able to look at it and judge, I don't mean in a judgmental way, but to determine whether or not I'm on track, or if I got to step it up, or if I'm doing okay and I'm banking, a little extra in there. And then maybe my goal gets to be higher. I've got 2 currently on mine. I've been on a fitness journey for about 3 years. Quit drinking alcohol almost 3 years ago. At the time, weighed 247 very soggy pounds. My neck was so bloated out and puffed out that I would stop breathing 6 times an hour. I needed a CPAP machine, and my bloodstream was sludge, basically, at the time. So I started working out, exercising, walking, haven't had a drop of alcohol since. Added dumbbells and stretching and those battle ropes that I love, and also a Peloton cycle. And my goal for this year is 3,000 miles on the Peloton cycle, in addition to the other 90 minutes a day of working out. So I've got what looks like a giant thermometer, almost like those big fundraising thermometers you see down in a town square or a city hall. And every time I pass 100 miles, I'll bust out my phone, videotape myself coloring in the next line. I'm going to color in 800 miles later this week. And I share it with my client base to cheer them on. I'll share it on social media to inspire other people, that we need to not just set the goals, but also track our progress. And my other goal is for the number of podcasts I want to be on each year. 60 to 80 podcasts a year as a guest. So I get to, after our conversation, fill in another one of the 60 circles and pop the number in it to track my progress. Am I doing enough work to keep making these shows happen? Do I got to double down? Am I ahead of the curve, and maybe I'll exceed the goal? Hey, that's great too, because it doesn't mean just because you hit a goal, you slack off the rest of the year. That's not a good thing, because you're not going to start off next year as the best version of yourself.
Well, it's funny. I was working through a leadership group this last week, and we talked a lot about language and how we talk to ourselves. And, a lot of people say, I have to do this, or I have to do that. And then if you change your language a little bit to, I get to do this, or I get to do that, right? It's a pretty amazing transformation. But then there was even another step where it's like, I'm blessed to do this, or I am blessed to do that. And taking that language to a place, just like you're talking about your workouts, right? A lot of people go, well, I got to work out today. I've got to go lift. I've got to go work out. I got to get on the cycle. I got to do whatever so I can feel better. But man, what a blessing it is to be able to get up in that morning and to be able to work out and be able to take care of yourself and to be able to move yourself forward physically so you feel better, so you think better, so your days go better. I mean, these are all blessings in our lives, not things that we have to do. We're blessed to be able to do them.
Oh, absolutely. And what I've done too is one of my great mentors, her name is Terry Levine, and she said, how can you do something more joyfully? And when you said being blessed to, it reminded me of her and her instructions. So what I do every morning, and I want to give credit where it's due, Mel Robbins, one of my favorite speakers and authors out there, she has two principles. I love her. One of them is called the 5-second rule, meaning if you have an idea, if you have a thought, if you want something you want to act on, you give yourself 5 seconds. So every morning, 5:05 a.m., Monday through Friday, my alarm clock goes off. And my wife, Tina, is a genius. She bought me an alarm clock that doesn't have a snooze button. So my rule is you got to turn it off within 5 beeps. And as soon as I do, I go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Both feet on the floor, reach down, grab my socks, head into the bathroom, flip on the lights, look in the mirror, give a huge smile, and high five myself. That's her other practice. High five myself in the mirror. I'm already smiling, joyful. I'm more awake by 5:06 than many people are by 9. And I go into my workout with that energy and make sure I put a good classic rock song for my first part of the mile-plus walk. And then I switch to podcasts and things that educate me and inspire me.
What pushed you initially? I know you were talking about, where you were at physically and drinking. And I mean, what was your breaking point where you said, I got to make these changes for me to really push forward and to get yourself to where you are at today, which is a wonderful mental space. I mean, you've got your mindset right. The way that you're moving through life is beautiful. What was the breaking point for you to go, no more of this, I'm making this change?
It was a difficult couple of years. Of course, we had the pandemic, which impacted people like me who owned, at the time, 2 event-based businesses. And also, what I refer to now is, over the past 5 years, is 3 deaths in a pandemic. We lost my dad. I lost my business mentor, who was like a brother to me, who built all of the digital back end of my business. And we lost our little dog, who was a rescue, who, according to my mother-in-law, I had spent 11 years pimping out his cuteness and making him famous. So in a not very long time, both my businesses got rocked by COVID, and I had deaths of 3 people very, very close to me. And I just stopped. I would have the very tall nightly rum and coke. It wasn't like I was out getting blasted in the bars, but I would have that every night to relax. And it was a very bad habit. And I wasn't exercising. I hadn't been to the gym in over 3.5 years. And I just felt sick and tired of feeling sick and tired and no energy. I had a 16-year, 1 bottle per day, 5-hour energy habit. And they should have just changed the name to 9-hour lethargy, because that's pretty much how I felt, even drinking the energy drinks. My bloodstream was literally sludge. And I was sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. And I just stopped all of it and plugged right back in. And I'm working with some people doing a cellular detox that have been on now for almost 4 months. I've got more energy now than I had 10 years ago.
Sometimes we can aimlessly drift through our life, not really sure how to break the patterns and live the life that you've always dreamed of. I get it. I have been there, so caught up in chasing opportunities until I found myself in a life that felt foreign to me. It took me years to unwind the messy web to get back to what I've been put on this planet to do. And let me tell you this, purpose doesn't have to feel out of arm's reach. And I've designed a plan for you to do a little bit each day over the next 30 days in a challenge that I call the Outlier 30. It's specifically designed to help you find or create more clarity around your purpose. So if you're feeling lost and you want to finally turn things around and live that life that you were destined to create, sign up right now. It's free. You have absolutely nothing to lose and the whole world to gain. Visit gorodman.com/outlier30 today. What was your first step? I mean, when you were going through the process, everybody needs a first step. There's so many people out there that are like that. They're grinding out through life. They're struggling. They're hurting on the inside. They're physically not feeling good. But you came to, this is it, and I'm going to make these changes. What would you tell that person sitting there right now? Say, hey, this is the first step. Start here.
The first step was literally steps. I just opened up the garage door one morning, and we live kind of out in the woods in a small town in New Hampshire. I just went for a walk. And hadn't even done that in so long. I mean, I got so lazy, I used to take our car down to the bottom of the driveway, which is really only like 60 feet, to get the mail. I was just not moving. I didn't feel like it. I didn't feel good. So I just started walking and not wearing earbuds or earphones. I was listening to the sounds of what the woods sounded like in the morning. I heard birds. I heard squirrels. A deer ran across the road in front of me once. I just plugged in and listened to the world, and it was the happiest mornings I'd had at that point in a long time. I would walk 1 to 5 miles a day. And then I said, well, what if I got just some, little dumbbells or something and just some more exercise? Because our gym is about a half hour away. I didn't want to be driving an hour to work out for a half an hour. If I'm going to occupy an hour and a half, I'm going to do it all for my health. Greatest decision I ever made. And I slowly added exercises and little affordable pieces of equipment. This is the healthiest I've been in a long time. I'm 27 pounds down. I've got 22 more to go to hit my target goal of 198.
Yeah, and you'll never go back. I mean, the thing about it is once you have felt like you did feel, and then now that you feel like you do now, you'd be like, what was I doing? And I know that I've got a family member who is going through some alcoholism, and they had really kind of destroyed their body, and they weren't good upstairs. And it came down to kind of a health issue where they said, you know what, no more. And the first thing I told them, though, is when you go into this, we're going to start with our physical being and start to work on that. But we're not going to run into it. We're going to walk into it. Like you said, it's that first walk, right? Or it's that first step. And literally, I mean, this has been about 2 years for them now where they're clean. They feel amazing. They can't believe they even lived the life that they were living. But now they've gone from, okay, I'm going to walk half a mile. Okay, I'm going to walk a mile. Now they're doing 5 to 6 miles a day. They look fantastic. They're lifting weights. It's amazing how just one little step can lead to such a transformation.
And a big part of it too, especially for people like myself and the person you're talking about, where they're really down on themselves and not feeling well, it can be very easy to have the most horrific self-talk. And that was one of the biggest lessons. I mean, I spent years of my life, and that means decades, being so self-deprecating, and the double-edged sword of it was I could get laughs doing it. I was also a stand-up comedian for 7 years. I could get laughs doing it. So I never saw the damage I was actually doing until a friend of mine heard me on stage at his event. I spoke for 3 days in a row. On the third day, I was in a bad mood, running out of material, and I went on a self-deprecating rant and destroyed all of the credibility I'd built up over the 3 days. And he intervened upon me, which I now refer to as he put on a pair of steel-toe boots and kicked me so hard in a part of my body my doctor only gets to see once a year. He laid it right out. He says, brother, you are killing yourself on the inside. He goes, your self-esteem, your confidence, your everything. I just watched it all blow up. So for anybody that's in a tough place right now, please at least be kind to yourself, because it's going to be a long process. Even if you look at yourself, and there's an exercise I do with my clients when I first start working with them. I say, when you're getting ready in the morning, look in the mirror, start at the top of your head, work your way down, find one part of your body that you like, love, or just think is kind of cool. Do that for 7 days. And on the first day, you're going to feel really weird. So I say, when you get down to your feet, just go, well, hell, at least my socks match. There's day one. But you can't do that one again. Start to find these things you actually dig about yourself and give yourself a break. From experience, trust me, you're killing yourself if you do not talk about yourself, at least in a positive way.
Well, and I feel like so many people are in that situation where they're so disrespectful to themselves. You know, it's like the way that we talk to ourselves is often worse than the way that we talk to other people. We would never talk to somebody else the way that we talk to our own selves. And the problem is that our words matter. And it doesn't matter if it's our internal words or external words. The second that we start going down those paths and the way that we're communicating with ourselves has such an impact on how we react in life and how we are to people and how we act and what we do. It can take your entire day, I feel, and spiral you downward. Or if you can change that self-talk to be good to yourself, to lift yourself up, to tell yourself that you can do these things, it can have the exact opposite effect.
Oh yeah, and some people say that if you look in the mirror and say, I like myself, that you're being egotistical or you're bragging. No, man, you're just keeping that pulse going. You're just maintaining when you're doing that. And I've got a stage story that I used to share when it comes to self-talk. I said, I always wanted to be the person who made everybody laugh and made everybody feel good. So it was like I was the circus clown all day long. And I would take pies to the face and pratfalls and fall down and hurt myself for everybody else's amusement. Now, the challenging part of that is, at the end of the day, when the tents are all rolled up and all the lights are down, the clown walks home alone crying in the dark because of the place that they have put themselves. They've decided, this is my role, this is all I'm worth, this is what I deserve. And it's not a healthy place to be. And it's not that anything happened in my life that was so tragic that caused that. It was just me. It was the piling up of things over the years, little beliefs, well, I'm not as good as that person, or I'm not worthy of this, or whatever. We just heap so many things on ourselves over the years, and those things add up. So please be very aware of what you say to yourself and about yourself to others, because it does matter.
You've had quite the journey too, going from where you were. I mean, you were a stand-up comedian, you were in radio, you had businesses, and then now you're really getting into the mindset and into vision and goals and helping people in life. And you're even getting on the stage. How'd you make the transition to start getting onto stages?
When I was 11, I wanted to be a radio DJ, a stand-up comic, or an author of my own books, because my mom instilled the love of reading and writing to my sister and I. And also wanted to be a teacher of people, but not in a classroom. And in the early 2000s, 2002 is when I blew up the radio career. 2003, I got divorced and was very in debt at age 35. And in August of 2003, on a Friday afternoon, I had $3 in my pocket. And it was just one of those frustrating weeks, very self-deprecating, very down on myself for blowing up my entire life. And I drove past this mini golf place in the town next to ours, and they had a driving range. And I'm a horrible golfer, very dangerous. So I went with my bucket of golf balls to the farthest tee box on the property, right against the netting so that we wouldn't dent any trucks at the business next door. And I was under these big steel-towered power lines. And hot, humid afternoon, a thunderstorm came through. Wind, rain, thunder, lightning, everything. And everybody but me ran from the storm. And at one point, I just held up the club, not yelled, not mad at God. It was like my Lieutenant Dan moment from Forrest Gump when he's up in the crow's nest of the boat. I just said, go ahead, give it your best shot. I'm barefoot in the wet grass under power lines here, holding the club up. And so I hit my bucket, and the full buckets of two guys that ran from the storm and never came back. And when I got to my car and I opened the door, it stopped raining and the sun kind of started to break through. And I just thought that was the funniest thing. And the next day I had a conversation with a coach I just started working with. And he said, how was your week? And I told him, as funny as I could make it, it was very self-deprecating. The word idiot was probably in there 6 times. But I told him the story of that hour and what I had done. And when he stopped laughing, which is something coaches should not do to their clients when their lives are pathetic. When he stopped laughing, he asked, have you ever thought of being a motivational speaker or a stand-up comedian? I think you'd be really good at both. He didn't know about my 4 goals when I was 11 years old. 2 weeks later, I was in my first stand-up comedy class, and a week after that, my first Toastmasters meeting. I did comedy for 7 years, and I've been speaking for about 20 years now.
That's incredible. I thought that story was going to end up very differently. I thought that maybe God was going to reach down with that lightning bolt and teach you a lesson or two, but either way, I think the lesson was learned, and it really moved you into a place where you like to be right now, and you're teaching, you're able to go out and work with people and help them find themselves and discover their own goals and their own dreams within them. I mean, what an incredible place to be in life.
It's a blast. And, the funny part is all these other things that ended, I thought they were failures, and it turns out they were just bricks in a foundation. This is the order everything was supposed to happen so that I would have the credibility, the authority, the maturity, and the experiences to be able to process it and be able to spin it around to turn around with my hand out and help other people who were where I was. I didn't just get this certificate in the mail for $7 learning complete NLP. People used to ask me, what qualifies you to talk about this? I've got a little chalkboard here in the recording studio. And after enough snotty people asked me that, I busted out the chalk and I wrote, this guy lived it. And I drew an arrow and I put my face in front of the arrow and took a selfie. And anytime somebody gets snotty enough to ask, I just send them that selfie.
It's funny because a lot of people, look at their history and they're angry about their history, or they're frustrated, or they can't move on from their history. And, I always tell people, because I had kind of a tough upbringing and a lot of things happened to me in my life, but I wouldn't go back and change a thing because I love where I'm at right now. I mean, what if I would change one single thing in my life to where I am right now? Well, my life could look entirely different. And I love my life so much. I wouldn't change a single thing. So I always tell people, embrace those things, those failures, or maybe those traumas, or maybe those bad things that happened to you as a child, whatever they might be, embrace them as being a part of who you are right here, right now, in every single thing that you do in your day. And if you love where you're at, or maybe you look and go, well, I don't love where I'm at. It's like, well, let's find a way to get you transitioned, to find that purpose, to find those goals, to find those things that move you, to get you excited when you get up in the morning. And then you'll still look back at those trials and those tribulations and those traumas, and then you'll embrace them more, to go, man, those things did build me to be the strong, incredible person that I am right here, right now.
Yep. You can use broken bricks to build a new foundation. And that's what I learned. It doesn't just have to be, you don't have to go shopping for the greatest slab of granite when you're starting out. Just if you can take two halves of a broken brick, you've got something to stand on, to go to your next thing, to lean over and grab another rock or brick or something and go. And something you just said in there about waking up and celebrating and getting fired up for where you want to go next and the potential in your life. For more than 12 years now, I've been keeping a gratitude journal, and it's pen to paper every morning. This is how I start my day. I keep it under the back of my laptop so it's at a slant. When I get to my desk after working out, I pull that journal out, and I write the date, I write the words "great stuff," and 1, 2, 3, in less than a line each, I describe my 3 favorite moments from the previous day. No broad brushing. Exact moment in less than a line, as emotionally connected as I can to it. That's how I start every day. What was great about yesterday? And it doesn't have to be perfect or all great news. And people have said, well, Steve, your dad died. What could you possibly have been grateful for the next day? I said, I'll tell you exactly what it was. He stayed alive long enough for me to get to the hospice before he passed. I was there with my sister and our stepmom. And his favorite TV show, at his favorite part of the show, The Price is Right, at the Showcase Showdown, was happening right when he passed. So there was joy and laughter in the room when he passed. That was my gratitude the morning after I lost my dad, which is the single greatest loss of my life. There's always something to be grateful for that gives you hope or inspires you, or something you celebrate. And the best part of that is, I've been in interviews before and I've had my gratitude journal here in the studio, and they go, come on, prove it. I flipped open the book and started laughing. Something 7 years prior that I tapped right back into the emotion of and started laughing. And then he just said, he goes, okay, now you got to tell me the story. And then he was laughing.
And there is so much in life to be grateful for. And I mean, we don't see them every day. It happens every day. All the time things happen, but a lot of times we don't see them or we don't think about them. And I think, like you journal, I go and I meditate at night. So I'll sit down with a good meditation, and I will just start repeating a lot of the things that I'm grateful for that happened throughout the day. Things that were important to me, things that I was very, very glad to have in my life throughout that day. And either way, practicing gratitude can change your entire outlook, because you really start to open your eyes to all the wonderful things that you have around you. And by the way, just so you know, my mother was on The Price is Right, and she was on the Showcase Showdown. She got all the way, she got $1 on the wheel and got to the Showcase Showdown. Your dad probably watched my mother at some point on The Price is Right.
He very well could have. That was his favorite show to watch at lunchtime.
Yeah, but gratitude is so important for a million different reasons. It also helps you because we get caught up, I believe, at times in the one downfall or the one pitfall or the one bad thing that happened throughout the day. And it consumes us. It just consumes our entire body and our soul and our mind. But there's 20 incredible things going on at the same time that we don't even recognize because of that one thing that takes us out of gratitude. And I feel like when you can practice gratitude and really take a bad situation and then think about, well, it's okay. Think about all these wonderful things that are happening throughout the day. It can really change your mindset.
Yeah, I got to have a conversation yesterday with one of my vision board coaching clients and sent me a message. She put out her own book last year. She recorded the audio version of her book, and she has ADHD off the charts. Her book is actually called 80, the number 80, HD. And she sent me a screen capture. She goes, oh my God, my day is not starting off well. And she sent a picture. Somebody gave her a 1-star review on the book, and it was really getting to her. So I said, okay, everyone else loves your book. She goes, I know. I said, then why are you paying attention to this one? She goes, it just really rattled me because I like to make everybody happy. I said, not everyone's going to like us. They may have just given 1-star review because they got their copy and the cover had a bend or a fold in it. We don't know. She goes, well, what do I do? And now she and I have this relationship so I can say this advice. I said, okay, hold up your phone to the screen capture of that. Give it the finger until you start laughing out loud and just wave the finger around. And then she said, okay, and now I'm laughing. Now I'm ready to start my day. And I love that you're my coach.
Yeah, it's funny how all that can change when you just tweak your mindset slightly. And, you can't control what other people think or say. I mean, at the end of the day, that book might not have been meant for that person. It was meant for the people who are the 5-star people who are reading it, resonating with it, changing their lives. Okay, you're not going to change everybody's lives, and not everybody's going to like you. It's a pretty easy formula in life, but it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy to get those haters or those people who are coming in and being rude or they don't like you or whatever, but at some point you just got to go, that's okay. They were not meant for me.
I've got a sign on my desk, and it's my favorite hashtag in the world because whenever something like that happens, and I get it just like anybody else does. People think what I do is full of crap, and that's okay. So one day I just wrote hashtag up yours and on a little sign, and I keep it on my desk because it makes me laugh. It's not profane. It's not rude. It's funny. So when I get in that space, when I feel like the negative energy is coming my way, I tilt my laptop down because it's right behind there, and I look at it and I go, up yours. And I flip my thing back up and I get on with my day, and it makes me laugh. And I've sent that picture to so many of my clients because they say, I'm not sure what to do, and it's getting me in a bad mood and a bad funk, and I'm getting off my game. I said, look, if this makes you laugh, here you go. You can borrow my sign.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is, there's always going to be the people who are usually putting out that kind of vibe or are haters or are rude, whatever you want to call them. At the end of the day, it's usually their issue. It's not about you in the first place. It's usually about them or maybe you're just not their thing. That's okay. It's just, you got to be okay with people. Once you start to value somebody's talk over your own self-talk about what you're doing and who you are, then you're giving somebody else all your power. Somebody who doesn't know who you are or what you stand for. You know who you are. You know what you stand for. But when we give that power to those other people, those haters or those people in life who might not like what you do or don't think it's valuable what you do, when you give them that power, that's when you lose. That's when your vision starts to go away because you're giving the power to somebody else's vision.
Oh, you just set that up so perfectly, because I've had clients early on in the process that had gone through my program and now we're coaching or they're in the group coaching program. And they'll reach out to me, Steve, I showed this person my vision board today. I'm like, yeah. They said this particular goal is really stupid and I shouldn't want that. And I just say, okay, let's go back to our first conversation when you put that on your board, when we had our conversation, when you did the evaluations in the program and everything. Do you really want that? And they go, well, yeah. I said, well, why do you want that? And they get back to their why, and you see the colors start to come back in their face. And I see, it just means that goal isn't for that person, and that's okay. Or it could mean that person thinks you're going to change or think you're better than them for achieving it, and you're not. You just want to create a better version of your life. And when your fire is lit and you're out there, you get to inspire other people who are stuck in the shadows. So if you wanted it, you still want it. And anytime anybody ever does that to you, please reach out to me, because that's a big part of why I do what I do. I want to be the voice that helps people to believe in themselves more, because I have had people do that in my life when I was at my lowest points. People who reached out and cheered me on or said what I was doing made a difference for them. Or I followed a goal because somebody says, you always said you wanted to do this. Why didn't you ever do it? It's how I got into radio when I was 24.
Well, and that's why tribe is so important. You had the people around you to support you. And, people are, they're a little bit too quick to bring people into their lives. and they're a little bit too slow to release them if they are toxic, or if they are somebody who shouldn't be in your tribe, is not lifting everybody up. So I feel like when you get that really solid, those people that, like you said, influence you, have very positive messaging, are always uplifting instead of dragging you down. I think that's a critical component to your growth.
Yeah, I love being that person for other people, even strangers. If I see somebody, even at the grocery store, who looks a little bit down or something, I'll just see something about them, and I'll just happen to pass by and go, that is the coolest hat I've seen all day. Me, I couldn't pull that off, but you make it look good. And I just walk away, and I maybe bump into them a couple aisles later, and they kind of look up and they see me and they start to smile or laugh again. I'm like, I look up and I go, thank you. You put that, and some people go, oh, you're like an angel to them. I go, no. I said, they were put in my path that to teach me something, to be a better version of myself. It's not that I got to be this hero to them. I said, they gave me an opportunity to put a great moment in my day. So I look at them as the gift to me, because the more I do that, the more great emotions I feel. And that's on my vision board, to feel the best emotions every day.
Yeah. Steve, I want people to be able to find you. You have great energy. I think that you have so much to give to the world, but I want people to be able to find you. If somebody's looking for you, they want to connect with you, reach out to you, where should they go?
Easiest place is my website, which is stevegamlin.com, and that's Gamlin. Everything is there.
That is perfect. And I always end our episodes with a question. And I love this question. But if you could go back into time, sit down with your younger self, spend about an hour with yourself, and you could give yourself one piece of advice, what would be the most valuable piece of advice that you feel like you could give to yourself?
So I'm a lot like you, that I wouldn't necessarily go back and change anything. So this is the answer that I love to give. Always remember Tina. That was a girl I had a crush on in high school for 3 years and never asked out. And 21 years later, 10 days after I wrote down, I am ready to fall in love, I've done the work on myself, she fell back into my life via an email from about 1,200 miles away after 21 years of zero communication. And this June is our 17th anniversary. So always remember Tina.
Always remember Tina. I love it. Well, thanks, Steve, for being on the podcast today. You just have so much good information. The listeners are going to benefit from your knowledge so much. So thank you for being on today.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for inviting me.